Hello and welcome to another transition guidance video from the Business Change team. I'm Kat McKimmie and I'm joined here by Ben Garwood.
Hello.
And today we're going to run you through the transition checklists, which you can find on GitHub, in the latest newsletter and on the Business Change app. We'll take you through exactly how to use them to make your transition as seamless as possible.
So Kat, what are my transition options?
Well, we've produced three different checklists reflecting the fact that there are three routes you can take to join Street Manager. The first is for those using the Street Manager UI, the second for those joining via an API link, and the third for organisations who will be using a combination of the two. For the purposes of this video, we'll be running through both approaches, so some bits may not be relevant to all of you, but please bear with us.
So why do you actually need a checklist?
Well, the transition to Street Manager involves a lot of moving parts, if you think about all of your internal staff plus external contractors. If you're a large utility, you could be coordinating with up to 50 local highway authorities, so having a single source of truth which you can follow means that critical activities won't be lost in the shuffle, and you'll be able to stick to timelines, minimise dual system running, and deliver a better transition.
Where can you find the checklists?
That's an easy one. All three checklists are on GitHub, in the Business Change app, and in the newsletter sent out earlier in January. We'll also put links in the description of this video.
How should you use the checklists?
Well, first of all, you want to select which checklist is relevant to your organisation, so that's the UI only, API only, or combination, and begin to run through the activities. Now, you may already be well on your way to completion, or you might be right at the beginning of your Street Manager journey. Regardless, if you tick off every activity, you'll be ready to go come the 31st of March.
Now, I know that some organisations are on the ball with this, so what if they've already produced an internal checklist themselves?
That's great. We would just ask that they cross-check the critical activities to ensure that nothing's been missed.
So what's actually in the checklists themselves?
Well, each list is broken down into 4 sections to simplify the process. And to make this more digestible, we've roped in our trusty product owner, Paul, to run through the key activities and deadlines at each section. So first up is onboarding, and we're asking that all organisations have this completed by the 29th of February. Activities involved in this are requesting access to Sandbox and production by emailing register@manage-roadworks.service.gov.uk. Once you've done this, you'll then receive your forms. You need to complete and sign these and return them back to that email address and read the additional documentation, such as the security information. You'll then receive your temporary passwords and usernames, and you need to activate these for Sandbox and production within 7 days. If you don't do this, then they will expire and you'll have to request new users. And if you're using the API route, you'll also have to get your API logins at this point.
I don't think they need to request new users.
No, they don't. They just request new passwords.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you'll just have to do, you'll have to get them to request a new temporary password
Yeah.
to activate. Okay, let's start again. So Kat, what's actually in the checklists?
Well, each list is broken down into 4 sections to simplify the process. And to make this a bit more digestible, we've roped in our trusty product owner, Paul, who you can see at the bottom in blue, to run through the key activities and deadlines. So first up is onboarding to Street Manager, and we're asking that everyone has this done by the 29th of February. In order to do this, you need to request access to Street Manager, Sandbox and production by emailing register@manage-roadworks.service.gov.uk. You'll then get some forms which you need to complete and sign and return back to that same email address and read the additional documentation, for instance, the security information. You'll then get a temporary password and your username, and you'll need to activate this in Sandbox and production within 7 days of receipt, or else the password will expire and you'll have to request a new one. And at this point, you'll also have to obtain your API logins if you're using the API route.
So, what's... I don't know when to bring Paul in.
After you've said.
Okay. So next in the checklist is Sandbox testing and development. What do we need to be doing?
Yep, so the deadlines for testing in Sandbox are 6th of March for API testing and 31st of March, so right up to the deadline for UI testing. If you're using the API, you'll need to test your API based on the specification provided by the DFT, and that'll happen in the Sandbox environment. And if you're using the Sandbox UI, then you'll be setting up your users and performing end-to-end testing all the way up to the 31st of March to really ensure that you have tested everything rigorously.
And lastly, we've got the transition to production. What do we need to be doing there?
So at this point, you'll be moving to production, either via UI or API, and that has to be authorized by your primary contact. And we ask that the primary contact also communicates that decision to the DFT. If you're using API, then you need to set up your users and work streams at least a week before the go live date to ensure that they're ready in time. And if you're using the UI, then you've got 3 days before the go live date. So that's the 28th of March to set them up. You'll also want to associate any contractors to work streams if that's applicable to you, and make sure that your primary contact has communicated that decision to other organisations which you work with. And then after the 31st of March, when we're in the go live period, you'll be doing post-launch quality assurance of all your data in the production to check that it's all working as you would expect. So thank you for listening to this video, and we hope your transition is progressing smoothly. But please feel free to contact the business change team if there's anything else we can do to help. If you need additional support, then you can email us at streetmanager@dft.gov.uk or use the business change app, which you can find on the App Store and Google Play Store.